All right, welcome to the first mini session of Record of Gaia. This will be like an intro session for two of our characters, and we'll do two more intro sessions for other characters before the whole campaign kicks off. I am the DM for this campaign, this go round. I'm Alex. Who are the players in this campaign right now in this session? Go. You don't have to say your character if you don't want to, or you can. But tell me who you are. Tell the world.
Uh,
Hello, I'm Pepper.
Hello, Pepper. I'm a Vunicat, also known as Chandler.
Hey, Avunacat, Chandler.
Nice. All right, well, let's get started with some music and then we'll get this whole shebang going. All right. This is Night Haunt Village, and hopefully you both can see this little map.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Jarek, remembering your past and how you're of normal size and shape for a person of your lineage has led to a more challenging upbringing than those around you. You find yourself this dark and gloomier than normal, um, shadowy night, kind of staring at the ceiling of your bedchamber, waiting for the first signs of a new day. And living where you live in the region that you live, you know that it's not necessarily sunrise that's gonna hasten in a new day. It's going to be more of just a lighter tone of gray, a lighter shade of midnight, one that's indicative of, well, it's a new day today. Um, Listening to the sounds of the outdoors, the inside of your home, and the inside of your own mind, you know that today's conversation with the elders will place you on a path to guide the rest of your life. Focusing on your thoughts and your breathing and the goal for the day leads you to fall into an uncomfortable slumber that lasts but a short while. Upon waking up, you find your home still, with the earliest part of the day calling to you. Those of your family who reside here with you have yet to stir from their sleep, but you are awake. You know that day has broken, and you could stay in your bedchambers a little longer if you wished to speak with your family for the morning or dine with them or spend time with them in general before heading out for your day's goal of speaking with the elders, or you know that the elders are pretty much awake at all hours but entertain visitors at the beginning of the day at the earliest. So it's your choice. Do you want to stay in your house a little bit longer, waiting for the rest of the members of your family to awaken, or do you want to get yourself ready and hasten your business for the day?
Um, I have a feeling I know how my conversation with the elders is going to go, just based off of uh, how I have been, based on the decisions that have led me to need to speak with them. Um, so I would not want to worry the rest of my family or uh, basically drag them into this more than they already are right now.
Okay.
So I would probably do my customary, make breakfast as I would normally. Make sure that what I make for them is prepared and set aside, so that way when they do finally stir, it's waiting for them as it normally is, and then head over to the elders.
Okay. You spend some time getting the meal ready for the day for those of your family who are home. And as you start to pack your stuff and you start to head out after cleaning up and setting stuff aside, you do start to hear the stirring of your family members in their respective bedrooms. Um, you know that within about 2 minutes, at least one of them is going to be coming out into the kitchen dining area where they typically meet for the morning. So you can stay and speak with them, or you can head out. Or what would you like to do?
I wouldn't hurry. If I hear them stirring, like, I wouldn't basically change my routine at all. I would continue moving along the same pace,
Okay.
sort of having everything timed up. So if I were to run into someone, I would, but I would not. I would not try to sneak out, as it were. I'm very sort of focused in my purpose and my tasks for the morning.
As you continue on your normal routine, you do hear one of the doors creak open, and stepping out, you see your older sibling, Namira, kind of rubbing the sleep out of her eyes. So you're up already, huh?
Couldn't sleep.
Well, I clearly did. Oh, my eyes hurt. Did you make breakfast?
Of course.
All
Why
right.
wouldn't I?
That's fair. You going to see the elders?
I think so. I feel like I know what they're gonna say, but wiser minds hopefully will tell me not to.
Well, take care and don't do anything too stupid. I know you can take care of yourself, but don't make me worry.
Oh, I won't.
Well.
I'll probably be back here, hopefully. Maybe, who knows, maybe this afternoon. But breakfast is ready, and you should have enough supplies to hopefully last you for a little bit.
Okay. Well, good luck, I guess.
Thank you. If you see Aeroth, tell him not to break anything. I can't keep fixing his stuff for him. He's smarter than that.
She just nods and kind of chuckles to herself a little bit and goes get some a plate and a bowl and some cutlery from its storage locations and starts to make herself a portion of breakfast, and sits down, and the day is yours.
Okay. I would, finish packing up. I'm assuming that I'm not going to be back. So I'm packing myself up some provisions, some supplies, as well as what small amount of gear I think I might need.
Okay.
We don't have a whole lot within our family, so I'm not trying to take too much, but I do take my glaive with me, sort of fashions alongside as a walking staff as well, but knowing that if I am leaving, I don't want to come back here for anything in case someone tries to stop me or makes a farewell more difficult.
Makes sense. You acquire the belongings that you wish to take with you, and you start to head out into the smaller village of Nighthaunt. You step out, and everything here is for you, what seems just like a normal day, but for anyone not from this part of the world, which you know as the Twilight Lands, which is where your village is found deep within. It looks almost like an eternal twilight, as the name of the region suggests. There are no stars in the sky per se, as you know it to be daytime, so it's lighter and kind of grayer. Almost looks like the sun is trying to break through, but you know, based on the ecology and the environment of this region, that you don't ever really see the sun. So you guys kind of live in this almost eternal night, twilight, kind of darkened state all of the time, and so vegetation is not always the easiest to come by, and it's just a harsher style of living, but you've grown accustomed to it as this has been your entire existence. You make your way through the village to the home of the elders. You know that the elders all have a single home, and they share it as a collective, as many groupings of what people consider their family, or others who are chosen family or biological family choose groupings to live together. You happen to live with your biological family and no others because of the size of yours, but there are smaller groupings of 1 to 2 people that will live with other groups and pairings in a home together because it makes survival easier and more efficient. But going to the home of the elders, the 4 of them that reside there, as you approach and knock on the door, the one of the 2 male elders that lives there answers, and as the door opens, you see the elder known as Aldar, a shorter in stature, about 5'5", 70-year-old, pale-skinned, almost translucent in the paleness of their skin, covered in scars, kind of head to toe, telling his life story, almost that of like a legendary tale where you can imagine that each scar kind of bears its own history and bears its own story, some from battles won, some from battles lost, some just from things that they learned to do and not to do to survive, kind of wizened markings on their skin. You see that they have hair rolling from their head to the very bottom of their calves, and it's almost snow white. It grays to white from top to bottom. And as they answer the door, "Oh, Jarek, good morning."
Good morning, sir. I hate to intrude at such an early time, but I couldn't sleep and I need to know what I must do.
Understandable. Well, come in. 2 are still sleeping, but Oriana is also awake, and so I imagine that she'll join us at some point. But please, enter. And you are shown entrance into the home of the elders and led to what seems to be a dining room table, a meeting place, a kind of place where there are multiple seats, more than 4, so if there were ever meetings or anything like that, they can all kind of happen in this centralized location. And you hear kind of in a different room the sounds of someone getting ready, kind of shifting of maybe doors or drawers and clothes, and someone just doing their typical morning routine, getting themselves ready, and you assume this to be Oriana. But he pulls a chair for you and offers you a seat. Would you like any tea, any beverage, anything to eat? Have you had breakfast?
No, thank
this
you.
morning?
I've already eaten.
Excellent. Well, you've come for advice, I take it.
I have. I heard the voices again. But this time it was different. They were clear for once. I don't know exactly what happened, but I was trying to take your advice. I was trying to calm myself. I was trying to focus, and they just kept yelling and getting louder. And then I was attacked by something, and do you ever do you ever dream so vividly that you swear it's the real world?
Not in a long time, but I have.
I saw through the eyes of Kudira. I know she's been dead for many years, long before I was even born. I know that she was dead long before my grandfather was even born. But I saw through her eyes. I saw her attack. I saw her life. I saw everything, and I I don't know how to describe it, but when I regained my vision, the beast that attacked me was dead, and the voices were clear for once.
What did the voices say?
They said that her work was not done, and that I needed to leave and finish it.
Did they give you any type of direction other than you must leave and finish her work?
No. The voices that yell at me decided to leave that part. Still vague.
You see that Aldar kind of chuckles a little bit to himself and kind of nods. That happens. Oftentimes, us older folk like to speak in riddles to try and help you discover the answer yourselves, but I don't think that's what this was. And at that moment, you hear the twisting of a door handle, and you see the door from where you were hearing all of the motion and movement open, and stepping across the um, through the door frame, you see a taller woman, significantly taller than Aldar, about 5'10", a little older and about 75-ish. Her skin being more gray than pale, shoulder-length white hair. You know this to be Oriana. She walks over with, standing very tall and very strong in her stature. Not unlike Aldar, he's just half a foot shorter than her, so he looks much smaller in frame. And she goes and pours herself a drink and then sits down.
As she like enters in, I would immediately stand up and sort of like give her like a respectful nod, acknowledging that she's entered in.
That's okay, child. You are a guest in our home. No need for the formalities. Sit, continue. I overheard some of what was being said. Let me pour myself a coffee, and I'll sit, and we'll figure out your plans of what we think you should do.
I quietly sit back down.
She pours 2 cups, one for herself, and noticing that Aldar also had nothing to drink, pours him one as well, and makes 2 drinks. Seeing that she heard that he offered one to you, but you declined, she brings the 2 over and sits down. Says, so the voices, they are they're telling you to finish somebody else's work, but not telling you on what you should do, correct?
Yes. The last thing I saw through her eyes was she was fighting something. I don't know if the vision was vague, or if the thing she was fighting was vague, but I could feel evil. I could feel darkness, but it wasn't here, sort of motioning around, like trying to indicate the Twilight Lands. It felt it, it felt like here, but it wasn't here. But she fell, and I know it was her. I saw my family's blade in her hands.
The blade that's been lost for generations.
Yes.
Well, she looks over at Aldar, and Aldar looks back at her. And they kind of give a knowing nod to one another. She says, well, we've been trying to figure out what our advice to you should be ever since you first brought this to us. When you did, we know that you've been hearing the voices on and off. Sometimes they're clearer than other times, now seemingly the most clear that you have had. We communed with the Raven Queen, and even in her grace, she knows not of exactly what you should do. She's not all seeing and not all powerful. Her domain is that of leading the living into death, onto the afterlife, not so much as what the living should be doing to get there. That's kind of the living's job to determine that themselves, as you very much know. The best advice that we can give you, that we have kind of come up with, as we don't know everything either, we are merely four older folks who have experienced a lot of the world. We think you need to seek out one who can see the future, one who has the powers of seeing, or divination, or an oracle, or a seer of sorts. We believe that doing so, they can help guide the voices of the ancestors to a more specific goal. And that goal, we believe, is to help you find the resting place of Kadria, since we were never able to recover her body, nor were we able to recover their weapon or reclaim their mission and their mantle. We believe finding a person who can help read these voices and kind of focus them and kind of be that oracle or be that seer for you would be what would help you advance this goal that they've given you. We can't predict if it will be a success or if it will be a failure, or if you'll live or if you'll pass, but we expect that you, being the survivalist that you are, that you would be most apt for this. And Aldar chimes in. We've put together some items that we believe would be most beneficial for you for your journey, if this is something that you wish to undertake. Now, don't feel like we're going to force this upon you, nor are we going to kick you out of the village if you decide to stay or not go. This is your life, and this is your choice to decide whether to stay or whether to heed our advice and try and seek this out and maybe end the voices, or maybe focus them, and maybe build that connection with the ancestors that we have not had in quite some time. Maybe you'll take up the mantle of Kadria and her mission and her weapon and her place in this lineage, but this choice is yours. And we can give you time if you wish, or if you already have your decision, then please let us know.
My decision is made. I cannot live with these voices as they are. I need sleep. I need to be able to find some sort of peace. I was attacked in the woods by something that shouldn't have even come close to me. I feel that if I don't at least try to calm them or quiet them, I'll die to something even more foolish. So, if I need to leave in order to do that, then so be it. I'll set out here directly.
Well, let me go get what we have put together for you that we believe will be a boon on your journey to self-discovery and enlightenment and peace, hopefully. And Aldar gets up, excuses himself temporarily, and goes into what is likely his room. You hear some shuffling about. He stubs his toe, and you hear him swearing under his breath a little bit, because he did not turn a light on or light a candle, just assumed he knew where he left things. He did not. But he comes back, and he has a bag, about a travel satchel size of bag, and lays it on the table in front of you, and says, "This, we understand that you are a person who is best at hunting and gathering and collecting from more of a stronger perspective rather than stealthy and hiding and running. You prefer to face the threats and face your survival questions head on. And we've seen and we've heard how you enjoy caring for others in the form of preparing meals and food for them. So we believe these items will be most helpful in your excursions." And he says, "This bag is magically enchanted to hold many an item. Um, if you look in your character sheet,
Is it my Shadar bag, my Shadar Kai bag of cooking?
that is exactly what it is. You are. He explains to you that this bag provides you with an additional knowledge of cooking and how to prepare additional meals that you may have not known before. It also helps to store many different cooking utensils, and upon requesting certain things, the bag can produce for them. If you need to produce something to cook with, you stick your hand in, and you think of what you need, and this bag can produce it for you. Now, you must return it to the bag, or it can be lost, and it will have to be replaced otherwise. But this bag also has has the capability of storing every possible ingredient you could ever need. It also, and he puts his hand in and pulls out a thick cookbook, which as he opens it, there are only a few pages that actually have recipes written on them. The rest are blank, and those recipes will be ones that you have told me that you want to do. I just have to finalize them.
Okay.
The first few pages are recipes which are known in your village. They are common cooking recipes. They are more refined. They are in written down form in case while under duress you forget what they are, or other things come up. Now you always have references. So this bag is effectively a bag of holding that is specific for cooking and chef related things. It holds, and it will keep all of your food fresh and unable to rot. So if you put meat in there, it's fine. All ingredients are fine to go in this bag of holding, your Shatter Kai bag of cooking. It also holds your cookbook of the Wanderer, and it gives you expertise in the use of cooking utensils. It gives you that extra knowledge of how to cook better. Also, these we were able to scavenge a few. We have more, but we were able to scavenge a few, as you will not be able to return home, at least in the immediate future, for recovery. And he pulls out 2 standard healing potions for you, so you'll have to add those to your inventory. But
I think I already did, because I think you had mentioned it previously that we would be able to start with those. So
yes, well, you have you have 2 standard potions of healing that he pulls out, and these are also available to you. Use them sparingly, as those are all we can provide to you. But yes, if there's anything else that we can do before you head out, we will oblige. But this is what we have put together to help assist you in your travels.
I thank you graciously for this, but I do have one final question.
Of course.
Where?
Well,
I know it's not exactly an easy question, but you said that you communed with the Raven Queen and she had no answers for me, but any direction a person, a place. I've left very few, I haven't left far past the village, just to the woods around, but
Well,
I'm not afraid of where to go. I just need to know where to go.
I don't have that answer. We believe, and the Raven Queen believes, that when you start walking, if the voice of your ancestors truly do wish for you to find them and to find Kadria, then they will direct you on where to go. Our best advice is to pick a direction and just walk, and the voices will guide you in the direction that you need to go, and you'll need to put your full, unabated trust in them and just follow what is asked of you, if that is what you truly desire.
It is.
So, but
If my mother comes asking, tell her I'm sorry, that I will return when I have answers. I do promise her that. I will come back in one form or another.
Understood. Well, we do wish you the best, and we do hope you come back in this form rather than another. But
I smile, I stand up and, respectfully give them the traditional courteous salute, or, farewell greetings, and then grab the gifts and walk out, grabbing my glaive from the outside resting place.
as you leave the village of Nighthaunt, you kind of walk for a little bit, and as you start to know that you're getting at the edge of the sightline of the village, you kind of turn one more time, and you kind of see it getting a little lighter, as if the sun is rising, but it's just getting less dark. Still that gray twilight time frame, but just a little more visible. And you continue on your path. As you walk, you get this feeling. It's kind of pulling you in an eastward direction, and that's the direction you feel you should walk.
Feeling that, I put my pack over my shoulder and just start walking.
This is the type of area that you cross as you're walking through the Twilight Lands. You see everything from darkened, dead flora to skeletons of different fauna and different shadow beasts in the distance. You hear them, but nothing really approaches you per se. You know they're there, they know you're there, but you know a lot of times, as long as you keep to yourself and kind of mind your own and don't go looking for hardship, you can avoid it. And you walk for probably 2 days, camping in between, finding places to rest. Is there anything specific you wish to do during these isolated few days of travel?
Knowing what I have, in terms of this bag for food and everything, and knowing how scarce it would be, I would be searching for, different types of mushrooms. I know there's not a whole lot of plants that grow outside of the cultivated areas within the villages and everything, but I would be trying to find any sort of food that I could put into my bag in case.
Yeah.
I don't know what the transition is like. I don't know what area I might be going into, and so any opportunity I have to find some food that I can keep knowing it won't spoil, I would be doing that.
Okay, so we'll say give me just 3 survival checks.
3 survival checks. 1, 2, 3.
All right. Better, better, better. You do find, I don't remember the names of the recipes that you sent to me for sure,
Hmm.
but we'll say that you do find enough to make each of those recipes an additional time. So you
Okay.
find enough materials, whether it's you gathered it, you found something to hunt, um, you found enough materials that you can make each of those recipes an additional time. We'll say that you had enough materials on you already from what you had gathered before that you could make them all 3 times. So now you can make each of those recipes a total of 4 times. So just to make it easier for memory.
Okay.
Um,
And then also, I would be working on trying to. I know what happens to calm the voices. I know what I need to do. Sorry, I'm trying to be a little cryptic here for
You're
the person who's listening in
fine.
this one-on-one conversation.
You're good.
So I'd be trying to find a way to reproduce it on command. I know it's frustrating, but that would be something that I'd be trying to be able to get better at.
Okay.
Being able to replicate, knowing that in those moments the voices are more clear, trying to get any sort of guidance, any sort of hint as to where or what I might be looking for, maybe seeing if the voices have any guidance on who I might be looking for, where I might be trying to eventually head.
Absolutely. On the morning of your third day of isolated travel through this desolate, eternally twilightly lit region, um, you're walking and then you just stop dead in your tracks. And seemingly out of nowhere, you feel what feels like an icy dagger run from the base of your skull all the way down your tailbone, effectively feeling like your whole body is freezing in place as you just feel this really, really cold chill, and your body, almost out of your own control, is turned a hard direction to the north. It just bam. And then you start walking, and you hear the voices in your head say, "This way, this way. You'll find what you're looking for this way." And as you're walking, in the later afternoon of the day, you start to see this darkened glade that feels both unwelcome and welcoming at the same time, as well as this strange sense of intrigue. And as you kind of look in the distance, it goes from this weird darkened night blackish whitish kind of environment to this strange mix of dark pinks, purples, blues, blacks, and greens, which is confusingly both confusingly and hauntingly beautiful at the same time. And just so you have an idea of what you see off in the distance, it is this kind of way off in the distance. How do you approach?
I'm confused and also slightly concerned, mostly because I've never seen colors before. Uh, it almost would appear probably like I might be under the influence of a poison or a toxin from one of the beasts that I know live in the Twilight Lands. Um, but do I get? I would probably also feel a sense of wonder at the how different it would be, and then also start to like look down at my own self to see if this color change is happening to me and other things, or also to, or if I'm sort of like an isolated case in this environment.
As you kind of look at your skin tones as you're kind of moving closer and closer, you see that it is the color of your skin that you think it should be, but at the same time, like, the light that's refracting out of this environment kind of is shimmering these blues and pinks and purples and these darkened blacks and greens off of you. So it's almost like you're reflecting the environment that you're seeing in front of you, and it's kind of like almost making you opalescent in a way. So you don't know if your skin tone is surely what you believe it to be, or if it's a combination of this kaleidoscope of opalescent colors, or what. You were just being bombarded by new sensation of this vision.
The first thing, seeing all this, are these like flowers nearby to me?
Yes.
I would probably go over and like smell one.
It's an unrecognizable smell that you've never smelled. It smells what you imagine happy to smell like. And wonder.
I take one of the flowers and I put it into my bag.
Okay.
And then I would continue walking through this area, continuing to head as due north as I can, but I'm gripping my glaive just a little bit tighter. Like I'm looking around far more frequently. This is an area that I'm not familiar with at all. This is an area that I have no knowledge about what might live here, how to interact with anything here, what might be dangerous, what might not be. So my head is basically on a swivel, ready to lash out at something.
You put your head on a swivel and you prepare to lash out if need be, but as you walk through, you feel this strange sense of calm and uncomfortable welcoming. And as you start to continue your way through this, and this is what you can see for as far as your vision allows, as you turn and look over your shoulder, you see the darkened region from whence you came is kind of just fading into this mix of discoloration. It's almost like it's almost like an oil painting that someone took the brush and just swirled all the colors together. And as you turn and look back in the direction that you're walking, you feel the pull to continue on this way.
As I turn and look behind and see what would almost be like the edge of where my homeland would be, and seeing that that a few more hours worth of walking, it'll be gone forever. I look back at it like I'm looking at it for potentially the last time, and just sort of sigh a little bit and then continue on walking.
And as you continue on walking, you don't know how far or how long, but you feel the urge to keep walking this way. And as you continue to walk over this way, you see, waking up today, today is the day that you will be celebrated, the day that everyone's decided you're 19. You're awoken.
It's about time.
You're awoken by both Aunties Auspix and Augury, with a large plate of toasted bread with your favorite Fey Dark jam. Are you ready? You see Auspix.
I'm always ready.
And they look over at Augury, who also nods. And then they look at you with the intention of asking you, but you have already answered, as they know that you like to jump to the answer for questions prior to them getting them out of their mouth most of the time. As they continue to give you plate after plate of toasted breads with your favorite Fey Dark jams, they kind of say in unison, we have some gifts for you now, and then another once we join the rest of the Obsidian Gate.
You mean more gifts than the toast?
Oh, yeah, that is merely the beginning, child.
Oh, okay.
They hand you two things. They hand you a backpack, and they kind of open it, and they see that it is, and you see that it is packed for travel. It has a few days worth of clothes in there. It has breads, it has jams, it has other foods in there. You see that there are 2 vials in there which you recognize as potions of healing, as you've made them with your aunties before, and they've made other potions and vials of both pain and pleasure and helping and harming. But you recognize these to be ones that will heal you in an emergency. They also hand you a bracelet, and you see that hanging from this bracelet is a claw embedded in some amber, and they tell you, you can focus your magic through this, my dear Ick. This will help you direct and more specifically calculate where your magic needs to go. It'll be most helpful in the journey that you've yet to take.
Will she feel it if I do that?
Yes and no. We will always feel it, but not a way that harms or does any danger to her or to us.
Okay. So if the Sphinx is taking her nap, I won't wake her up.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, good.
No. She'll know that you're using it. She'll likely have a better dream because of it, but you know.
Okay.
They, after you finish your breakfast, you walk out of your home where you have spent your entire life with your aunties, and you see, as you see on this map, there are the 5 digits that kind of clasp this island, kind of holding it up a little bit. And you have other islands that it's attached to via bridges and walkways and stones. You see there are different fey fish and sea and aquatic creatures that kind of swim and float in the surrounding areas around your home. Each of these digits being indicative of a resident of this home, of all of your aunties. You know that they are what supports the majority of the work of where you live. They are the hand that holds it together. But they lead you down the path further through their small realm to a very large, very dark obsidian gate. And as you arrive there, you see the other 3 figures represented by these digits that hold this place together. You know them all. They've all been raising you your entire life. And upon arriving, they all kind of 5 all nod in unison at each other, giving this knowing nod. And they all seem to have a little gift for you. One is holding a small little coat for you. Another one is holding another little stick, like a walking stick for you that they made themselves. Another one is holding a little hat that they thought you might enjoy wearing. A lot of these are just like pieces of traveling paraphernalia that'll keep you safe and warm and dry and clean, because they know you like to skip and run and jump and, do stuff that causes stress for them sometimes. But one of the other gifts that you were given, you see that Auntie Augury walks up and takes from one of the other 3 and turns and hands it to you, and it's this deck of cards. And as she hands it to you, you see that the cards themselves are blank on both sides, and there's a vast number of them. These are for you. They're your own set of tarot fortune cards to create and design as you see fit, as you divine, as you as you see things that you believe are important enough to create physical form, that's what these should be used for. And then these will help you focus your magic and your gifts that we have taught you even further. So use them sparingly, but use them when you know the time is right to create.
Auntie, when I come back and I have so many cards that you can't count them, it's okay. It doesn't make you bad at what you do. It's just different.
You hear a child. We have lived a very long time, and yet you still make us feel like we've lived much longer than we have. But yes, we believe in your power, and while we're sad that you're leaving, we believe that you're destined for great things.
I think I might have seen it, but I don't remember.
That's how it begins.
I'm very enthusiastic about all the presents, and so I'm like smooching on my aunties and exclaiming over things like, they're the most fancy things in the world. I mean it.
Yeah, they're giving you affection in the form of returning your smooches, giving you hugs. They're also giving you instructions on how to utilize the teachings that they have provided to you to stay safe. They're providing you with verbal cautions of the outside world and how not everyone that you meet can be trusted, and not everyone.
I think after about 2 of them have done that, I start saying the list along with them.
You can see that they're not annoyed that you're doing that, but they're kind of surprised for a split second, but then the surprise kind of washes away, and they seem to... The reception that you're getting from speaking alongside with them, their cautions and their words of advice to you, is that they know that as you're saying it with them, that it's being implanted deep inside, and that they know that what you're taking it to heart. So they are happy that you're responding with them in such a way. But after 15-20 minutes of this goes on, you see that they all kind of walk up to the obsidian gate, and they chant some things, and they kind of wave their hands, and some magic kind of sparkles out of all of their long, almost tendrilless fingertips, and the door just kind of very slowly swings open, and you see what looks to be almost like a very natural long hallway breezeway that just leads out of the domain, and you see not quite sunshine, but you see like brighter light than the darker but not gloomy dark of the residence that you've spent so much of your time. You see what you know to be the Feydark, or the outer parts of the Feydark from where you are, with its pinks and its purples and its blues and its menagerie of colors that kind of fill the region to make it look much happier than what you know the realm that you're in, which is your own portion of the Twilight Lands. You know that the most of the Twilight Lands themselves are just that. They are dark, they are dismal, they are night-esque, they are not a pleasant, happy place. But what you see outside of your home is that mix of colors.
I just watch my aunties doing their magic and their cool fingers and everything. And I just recently got an extra joint in my fingers, but they don't do that yet. And I really want them to do that yet. So I just say, "Oh, aunties, you're so beautiful. I'm gonna miss you."
And you start to see their eyes glisten a little bit, and they all, we will miss you too, Ick. We hope you return sooner rather than later.
Well, it's gonna be both.
Yeah, time is soup. Yeah.
Yep. I like soup.
Well, there's some soup in your bag. Just don't spill it.
Okay.
You can't eat it yet. Save it for later.
Oh. Okay. Can I share it with?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It's your soup. Do what you wish with it.
Okay. Oh, I made this for you. I don't know who's gonna keep it. I just made the one. And she digs around in her pockets. And she's coming up with all kinds of like little kid, there's some cool rocks.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big old tarantula she's saving for later. There's just, pocket lint, some coins, some crayons. And she comes up with this card that's the same shape and size as the deck of cards that they gave. And it's got something drawn on it. And she comes over and it's like, little kid presenting artwork from first grade to be put on the fridge. So she's just holding it out to Auspix and Augury in particular.
You see their long, multi-jointed fingers reach out and just take it from you, lovingly.
There. I'm gonna be fine. Mainly because of that.
We know. Well, you should go before we don't let you and we hold you here.
Oh, but I know those 5 holes that you made last week.
Shh, those are a secret.
No, but you already know about them.
I know. I made them.
I know. But I'm just saying. You couldn't stop me, really. But it's not that I want to run away or anything,
We know. We'll see you again soon.
Yep. I mean, you're still gonna talk to me, right?
Of course.
You're still gonna help me learn things, yeah?
Of course.
Okay. And you're gonna tell me when to get the scary voice right.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Okay. And when not to do the scary voice.
Yes.
And okay, am I supposed to tell people what's gonna happen or not? I keep forgetting.
That's your choice. That's one of the things we learn as we become adults. There's something in there which, don't look at it now. It's an extra special gift we all made for you together as a group. Don't look now. But
she's absolutely like undoing the straps on the backpack and then puts it down, really guilty. Okay.
Whenever you rest for the evening, you'll find it.
Oh. So it's not in there now?
It's in there.
So I could look if it's not. Oh.
You could, but you won't find it until you rest. We put a magical lock on it, and after a certain amount of time, the lock fades and the item appears.
So it's a lock that I can't get around.
Mm-hmm. One day you can, but as of right now,
Challenge accepted.
We are all still much more magically stronger than you.
Challenge accepted.
Good. Come back and prove us wrong.
It's not that you're wrong. No.
Mm-hmm. We have more experience in the ways of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Which just means that we're also old. So. And being old comes with its own little pile of mini magic tricks that help you do certain things and provide certain entertainments.
I forget if I told you that Nana told me that I am younger than I am, but also older.
That's a big head scratcher. So don't tell that
Here,
to...
I will help you, and It just like climbs up onto like a tree because she's very tiny. She's like 3 feet tall,
And
and
your auntie
starts
is like
just
9'4".
yeah,
She
and
is
so
not
just starts
small.
scritching her head, just scritch, scritch, scritch,
I
scritch,
appreciate
scritch.
this, Ick. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
But also, telling other people that aren't us that you're both older and younger at the same time may cause much confusion.
Well, what's wrong with that?
It could cause you more trouble than it's worth.
How how much is it worth?
As much as you want it to be.
Okay, then what if I want to tell them?
Then feel free and watch the response. I'm sure it will be quite fun.
Okay, well,
Just
you
be
say that
careful.
it's gonna be quite fun
Just be careful.
like that.
What I'm trying to say is just be careful who you show your capabilities to, because not everyone in this world is accepting or recognizes greatness in a positive way. For some, they fear it and try to destroy it. Others, they fear and run. Others will embrace you, but try and use you for their own results. So we just want you to take care of yourself. We want you to be careful, and we believe that you will do what's best for you, and you'll have a very interesting journey.
Everything's interesting.
This is
And
true.
you know what? Okay, I think I get what you're saying, but I think it's important to know that that one's going to be okay, at least at some point, with it all. And Vic points at the card that she gave to the aunties.
They kind of nod in agreement.
Well, so I guess if I already said bye to if I already said bye to Big Sister and Mama and Nana, I probably shouldn't go say it again.
No, that's okay. They know.
Well, of course they know.
They're also ready for you to take the first step. We all are.
And Ick turns around and like takes a really big step forward. And then turns around and goes, ta-da!
Everyone gives you the weirdest golf clap you've ever seen, as these like foot-long digits with 5, 6, 7 joints in them all kind of crumpled together in this weird hodgepodge mishmash of like vines just slapping together to make the creepiest clap you've ever heard. For you, it's
So
normal.
cool. They're so cool. I love it when they do that. Okay. I love you, everybody.
They all respond in kind.
Ick is going to turn back around and start chugging along.
As you start chugging along, you kind of hear as it just hits the edges of your ears as you're crossing the threshold out of your home, out to the Fey Dark. You hear the sounds of sniffling and quiet crying faintly behind you.
And Ick just yells, "Stop that!" and
you,
keeps going.
You travel. You start traveling for about a day. Just kind of exploring, kind of seeing the world around you, seeing this menagerie of colors, these pinks, these blues, these hot mixes of greens and blacks, and all the different colors of the Fey Dark. And then the weather turns for the worse, and it starts, you hear the crack of thunder, you see this purple-green lightning just through the sky, and you know that a storm is going to crack open in about 5 to 10 minutes. You have the equipment on you to put up a tent and make a shelter, or you could look for stuff to make a shelter. What is
Or,
Mm-hmm.
hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
I could just stand there looking up at the stuff in the sky, giggling.
You could.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm gonna do.
All right. You're gonna stand up and look at the sky as it starts to open up on you, huh?
Ah,
Yeah.
it's so cool.
It does start to pour. And as the rain falls, this is the only rain you've ever known. And this rain, as it hits you, the rain itself it doesn't look like water. It's these pinks and these greens, and it has almost like this fairy fire quality of sparkliness to it as it hits you. It's still wet and it still makes you very, very, very soaked to the bone, but it's as it hits you, you kind of have the remnants of this diamond dust sparkle on your skin as it kind of washes over you just continuously as you get wetter and wetter.
Ick is absolutely prancing. She's singing a little song about how she's so fancy. She's stomping in puzzles. She's squealing every time there's lightning.
You hear a voice in your head from one of your aunties that says, "We know you're playing in the rain. Do us all a favor and please find shelter so we don't have to worry on the first day that you're gone."
So pretty.
"I know, but please just make shelter and be safe."
For a second, she looks around and she thinks, what are they gonna do if I don't? What can they do if I don't?
As you're prancing around and saying this out loud to yourself, you don't see it on the ground, but there's kind of a tree root that's kind of extended a few inches out of the dirt itself, and your foot hits it and you trip, and you fall to the ground and land in some mud.
Yeah, I get it. Fine. So I will start looking around for some kind of shelter, be that just like temporary under some branches or a good place that I can put up my little tent real fast.
Oh yeah, you find a place that you can put up a tent really quickly, and as you kind of set up the tent and you get that all taken care of, you see that the storm passes, and it is dark out, and it's starting to get to the point where you can't see anymore. Do you set a fire or anything?
Oh, I think so. Tarantulas are better roasted.
Okay. Yes, you set up this fire with your campsite, and cool. As of right now, you're not quite at this one yet, Jarek. But Ick, you set up this campsite with this fire, and as you kind of get settled in for the night, roasting your tarantula, and getting your evenings to do set up, you see some almost like a magic cloud of dust just out of your backpack.
I forgot about that. I got distracted by other shiny things, but now I'm super excited. So I go digging through the bag.
Digging through the bag, you see again the food that was packed for you, a few different sets of clean clothes, some travel, some fancier, some just casual, your 2 healing potions that are in there. And then you find the thing that they mentioned to you. It is a very particular card. And as you look at it, it has all 5 of your aunties on one side of it. And it's basically a family portrait of all your aunties, your big sis, mama, and Nana all on one side. And as you kind of flip it over, you focus on the card, and you think long and hard, and you stare long and hard, and you kind of get this vision of what this card is. And just, it's only a few second vision, but it feels much longer. It's a vision of you and your family together changing fate, whether it's yours or somebody else's, or keeping it on the straight and narrow. And if you look in your inventory, you have what's known as the Card of the Fates. And once per day after a long rest, you can focus on it, and you can either choose to take a 10 on any roll, or it acts as a portent dice once per day. So
My God.
you can roll a d20 and you can take whatever the d20 roll is, or you can just choose to have a 10 instead. So, and you can replace any roll before or after the dice has been rolled. So you have a choice. You roll it and you take whatever the roll is, and that's your roll, and you just tell me what it is, but you don't tell anyone else. Or you just pick a 10, and that'll be your roll for the day. So.
You know, it's very cool. She's talking to the aunties, whether, they reply or not. She doesn't really care. It's very cool that you got Nana and Mama and Big Sister in there because, most of the time Nana is too big to be seen, and the fact that you got her on this card is amazing. And usually Big Sister, it's funny that we call her Big Sister because usually she's too small to be seen. But here they are, and Mama's wearing her shawl, and you all look so pretty and so smart. And I love this. Thank you.
And as you stare at it a little bit longer, you swear that it's almost like they're all waving at you and moving in this little card.
Do their eyes follow me when I move the card around?
Mm-hmm. They do.
Oh, that's so creepy.
Mm-hmm.
It's so beautiful.
And anything else that you wish to do for the night?
I think that I would take out the pack of cards and just kind of be looking at them. Just quietly kind of thumbing through them, running a hand over them. Once I take out a little pencil and almost put the pencil to the parchment, and then I don't say, yeah, that one's gonna happen later. And then I pack them all up and put them in my bag and sing myself a little song so that I can go to sleep.
You fall asleep, and the night goes by. You rest without much problem, and you hear a little pitter-patter of rain now and again, but not enough that it burns out your fire or anything like that. But
Do I get struck by lightning?
you do not get struck by lightning.
Fine.
But you do get awoken very suddenly in the morning, almost feeling like you were struck by lightning. You wake up with a jolt of electricity running through your body, and you have this image of another person burning in the forefront of your mind, and you feel like this is my first card. And Jarek, if you could describe what you look like, please, to Ick. This is what she sees in her mind, or they see in their mind.
You see a dark elf, about 5'7", 180-ish pounds or so, but lean, very scrawny almost. For a real world example outside, think of Brad Pitt from Fight Club.
Ooh, okay.
That sort of like sinewy, muscly sort of build, something that looks like it should be weak, but you know that it isn't. Not really physically intimidating, except through just absolute steadiness and knowing that if it gets hit, it will not go down like you would expect it to. His skin is sort of a lightish gray. The picture that I have is not fully accurate, but he does have white hair, almost like a wide mohawk of sorts. The sides are clean shaven, but he does have a white mohawk that does sort of go down along the back with some uh, markings on his face from paint, probably from hunting and scavenging that just hasn't fully washed off or has been applied so much that it's almost staining his skin at this point. His eyes are a very clear gray, um, and almost a little not haunting to look at, but sort of neutral. You get no real emotion off of his face at all.
Okay. So, Ick plops down on the ground and grabs the cards and her paints out of her pack and just starts furiously, really, really fast, committing this face, this person onto the card. And it's one of those deals where when there's great concentration, the tip of her tongue is sticking out of the corner of her mouth. She's just and there's a man that looks like that with a backpack and a big old weapon. And she looks at the finished one and she thinks about it for a minute and then she writes shield across the bottom. And then sits back and says, yep.
As you, actually, we can just do this because it's now daytime. As you sit back and finish up the drawing, Jarek, you feel this, the ice run down your back once more, and the voices say, almost there, so close. And you're pulled further and further in until you see off in the distance like the smoking remnants of what was a small campfire. And you're still, I would imagine, on guard because you just spent the night probably not sleeping the best you've ever slept in your life in a very unfamiliar land to you, with colors you've never seen, with flora you've never seen, with noises you've never heard.
I actually feel like I would be traveling more at night because it's more comfortable. The
Fair.
darkness of would mute the colors.
That makes
And
sense.
so I would probably be sleeping from 10 o'clock until 6 o'clock or so during the brightest part of the day.
Yeah.
So this for me would almost be like the end of my day, as it were.
Yeah. And you see the end of your day, the beginning of Ick's day. You feel the pull to go closer and closer, and you see, well, what does this man see from the distance that you are at from them, Ick?
So, what would Jarek's experience with goblins be in the Twilight Lands?
So there are like shadow twilight goblins, Jarek, that you've seen, but they're more of like, they're less of the fey nature like a hobgoblin and more of just like a corrupted. When you think of like a normal goblin, how they look very goblinoid, these are more of like corrupted goblins where you can see the blackened venous structures on the outside of their skin more so than underneath. Their eyes have almost this perpetual dark blackness to them, and they look more skeletal but more muscular at the same time. Like there's more
Do they
muscle
look
tone.
sort of like more Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Goblins sort of look. Okay.
Yeah, more like that. That's what I couldn't think of, but like that.
Yep.
Now, would Jarek be aware that goblins look differently elsewhere, or would that just be
Jarek's
kind of
never
okay.
been out
Nope.
of the Twilight Land, so he doesn't know.
So, this is going to be different enough as it is. So you will just have to see what happens if we come across other goblins, because Ick is mainly goblin looking, but there are some things that are different. And the first thing that Jarek would doubtless notice, especially if you've been having trouble sort of having your eyes adjust, you know, to like the idea of color and just that sort of thing. It is violently green. Like almost color not found in nature green. Like maybe 2 tones away from being neon. She's just, and it might even look to you like she is casting off some kind of glow. She's just that green. And she is actually sitting fiddling with something, so you can see that she does have pretty long fingers. Looks like maybe more joints than yours have. And at the moment, her long tail is kind of coming over her shoulder, and it's holding a pen. It's kind of, you know, like a cloven tail, and it's just holding a pen, and she's examining something that she's doing. And she's mainly bald, but she has like a top knot right at the top of her head that has hair all gathered up, and then it, you know, falls fairly far down her back. And I keep saying her, but if you aren't super familiar with goblins, you probably would not know, and even if you were familiar with goblins, it wouldn't actually be something obvious about whether this creature is male or female or who knows what.
Pepper, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to be 100% honest with me, okay?
Okay.
This is out of character. Did you make Yaddle?
I don't even know who that is.
You don't know who Yaddle is?
No.
Do you watch Star Wars?
I do, but I'm not like a lore whatever. That's my partner.
One second here.
Okay.
Let me get this picture.
I didn't know who that was either, but that's kind of funny.
Okay, thank you.
Do you see it now? Do you see it?
I just looked it up. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Okay.
Post it.
I will here in a moment. Let me find a good picture.
Okay.
Nope. Okay.
Plus, my brain is Swiss cheese, so if I ever knew who this character was, I didn't do it consciously. Huh.
It's female Yoda. But literally, like, your description of her, minus the color, is, like, almost to a T. And,
wow.
Like, bald, top knot hairstyle going on, longish fingers, like, you...
Ears not that long. I did what I could, you know, in Dungeon Forge, and more fingers than that.
Okay.
And way, way greener.
Yeah, yes.
Like Oscar the Grouch green. But yes, I can see it. I see what you mean. And no, it was not on purpose.
But as you get closer, Jarek can see this this person, this living creature by this dwindling campfire. You both notice each other, and Ick, you recognize this as the person that you just drew on your card.
Okay. So as soon as Ick sees him, she gives a little shriek and jumps up. All her stuff spills onto the ground and just charges straight at Jarek, you know, jumping over anything that's in her way. And she's got her arms out and she's like, you know, waving her hands and her fingers very excitedly, and she's just shrieking, "You came, you came, you came, you came!" And given half the chance, if Jarek does not respond quickly enough, she will climb him like a tree.
Well, Jarek's glaive will immediately be blunt end out with its 10-foot reach, attempting to basically like stop you in its tracks. And if you get close enough to try to grab onto me, he will evaporate out of your hands and appear 30 feet away.
Okay. So when you do that, it just screams gleefully, like this is the best thing ever, and just runs at you again.
I'm using the stick of my glaive basically to like parry you back,
Okay.
like a reverse cattle prod basically.
So where are you guys at on the map right now?
Oh, who knows?
I imagine I would have been like walking sort of over
Okay.
this direction,
Mhm.
Okay.
and then wherever you would have been.
So I would just run straight at you from here.
As you guys are figuring out that, both of you roll me perception at disadvantage, please.
Cool.
You are very distracted.
A 9.
My bad.
We'll mark that off.
A 7.
Yeah, good rolls. I use mine for food.
I use mine for food.
I don't know what I use mine for.
Let me
Bugs.
see here. Well, I rolled a natural 1. So, you guys, as you are figuring out what is happening, you both catch out the corner of your eye. You kind of hear it moving over some dirt. You hear some roots crack, and you see this green, oozy creature that seems to be full of bones. You can see completely through it. It's very translucent green, and you can see bones and other things kind of floating around on the inside of it. And I need everybody to roll initiative, please.
Right on.
First combat.
Woo!
Ooh, 11. Almost perfectly average.
Oh man. All right. Well,
That's not right.
no. 9.
No, I said that's about right.
Oh yeah. Jarek, you were first.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Question: do I feel like Can I roll a free insight check to see if I can gather this creature's intentions, knowing that this one seems hostile?
I will tell you the
Oh.
ick running at you. They just seem excited.
They seem excited.
And
Okay.
the other one. Here's what the other one looks like. If this helps. That. Just not
Okay.
just not like in the concrete, but
Yeah,
like bones
but
and stuff everywhere.
that thing there, it definitely does not look positive.
It's an amateur shade of green.
Oh yeah, it's like half the shade of green of ick.
Okay, cool. So it's actually
Lame.
easier on the eyes, is what I'm hearing.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
it's translucent, so you can see through it. So if
Maybe
if
I
it
should
wasn't...
befriend this thing and use that as my companion. Ick, you might notice this if you were staring at me as it happens. But you see Jarek's normally clear gray eyes almost like swirl inky and then like go jet black as I'm going to rage.
Yeah.
And then immediately position myself between there and then strike out with my glaive.
Okay. Do it.
So that is an 18 to hit.
Yeah. That is...
So it'll be this plus 2. So 8 slashing damage.
Okay. You slash through the like weird form of it, and it connects and does damage, but with it being as goopy as it is, it doesn't seem to quite do as much as you would want it to do. But you're slicing into it, or stabbing into it, whichever is your preference. It's to slash, so you slash down.
It's slashing.
Yeah, it just doesn't quite have the same level of connection as what you're used to with beasts and things like that you're used to hunting. So.
I do look a bit concerned that my normal weapons aren't as effective, but that will be my turn.
Okay. Ick.
Okay, so Ick is behind Jarek, just kind of like bouncing up and down, and it's both, and Jarek doesn't recognize this yet, but he will. It's both excitement and a little bit of irritation, and Ick just screams, if you would just remember that you love me and let me hug you, we could have seen this coming. And so then she's gonna slide over. She's gonna slide over to here,
Mm-hmm.
and she's gonna look at the creature and go, okay, okay, okay. Oh, okay. This is really exciting. Hi. My name's Ick Bean, and you are my very first victim. I'm okay. I'm gonna try to do this right. If you have any like notes or feedback or anything after I do it, that would be so cool. Okay, here we go. And she's gonna cast Hex
Oh, snap.
with my one spell slot. And so that is actually a bonus action.
Nice, nice.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you hexing? What ability check are you hexing?
Boy, let's see. And it's ability checks, not saving throws, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I think we're gonna go. Does it look crabby?
It looks like a big
Let's-
pile of slimy
It's
green
basically goo, right? Okay,
Mhm.
so we're gonna go. No, Dex. We're gonna say
goop.
Dex.
Okay, cool. And then what would you like to do with your action? And I'll let you re-roll the damage for the hex for the attack if you attack it. You don't have to take the one. You can take whatever you roll.
Oh no, it's fine.
Well, if you want to keep.
I don't mind. It's my very first.
There you go.
You know, it's my very first one.
I like it. All right.
So I go plink with necrotic damage,
Mhm.
and then you know what? We're gonna go for a classic. We're gonna Eldritch Blast.
Yeah, do it.
Oh,
That
that's a 9.
does not hit. It just not so much that it doesn't hit, it's that it is dead on target, and then you see that its body just kind of like a flubber makes a big hole in the middle of it. It shoots right through, and then it reforms itself together. It's almost like it became amorphous and then became parasitic.
Yeah.
But it did take the 1 necrotic damage though.
Right.
So
It soaked it up.
and you see
That's both cool and irritating.
and you see a tree kind of close behind it just explode as you hit it, and now there's a whole nother stump up there.
Sorry.
Is that your turn?
Yes.
Okay. It's gonna move to the thing that hit it, which is Jarek.
Mhm.
And we're just gonna do our whisper attack rolls like we talked about before, and 21 to hit for 7 bludgeoning damage, reduced to 4. So it.
Sorry, you
to 4.
cut out when you.
Oh, to 4.
4?
Yep.
To 4,
It just it plops you right in the face. And that is its turn. And you see floating around inside of it is a bunch of bones, some dissolving clothes and other leathers, and looks like stone stuff is in there too, and a skull floating with multiple holes in it. It looks like this thing just kind of took over some. It ate some people. So, but yeah, that's your turn.
Okay. Well, I'm going to not try to run away from it, but I'm going to try to slash back at it here.
Do it.
Nope, that will miss.
Mhm.
However, are we using the 1 D&D weapon mastery?
I'd have to look it. I don't remember what it says, but yeah, probably. I think we said we would do it. I just don't remember what it says.
So Glaive has the ability Graze, where if your attack roll with this weapon misses a creature, you can deal damage to that creature equal to the ability modifier you used to make the attack roll, and just that.
Okay.
So it would take 3 damage.
Okay. And it'll be halved because it's not that. So it's 2 instead of 3. So.
Yep. So.
Cool. You slice by it and you clip off a little piece of its goop, but it doesn't seem to be super effective. Ick Bean.
So Ick looks at that, and she's like, for a minute, she wonders what it would taste like. And then she says, okay, So, I think we got off on the wrong foot. Or my last thing I did didn't work. But wait, that's not possible. You don't have feet. And that's vicious mockery. Wisdom 13 save.
Snap. Well, it's got a +0. It rolled a 6. So it takes what, 1d4?
Oh no. Ooh.
And then is the
And then
hex damage
hex
only on
is
attack rolls, or is it on saves as well?
whenever you hit it with an attack.
Okay,
So, yeah.
cool. So just 4 psychic damage. It seems to take all of the psychic damage, though.
Ooh.
And it has disadvantage on its next attack, right? If I recall.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else on your turn?
No, she's just gonna yell. It didn't like that. It doesn't. I think it doesn't like the magic-y stuff. But you should probably keep hitting it.
Okay, let me see something here, because I think this will be funny. Okay, so what I wanted to read the writing of Vicious Mockery, because you yelled at it and it looked at you, but it has no sense of recognition of what you're saying because it doesn't understand any languages.
Yep, okay.
But it doesn't have to understand the language to be affected by it, which is what I was double checking. But yeah, it goes
They
through.
just have to hear me.
Yeah,
It was
it
all
just-
about
Yeah.
tone, except that might have been confusing because it was pretty chipper.
It just,
You know.
it looked at you and it was just kind of looked all squiggly at you for a second.
Mhm.
And you see that as you yell these things at it, it kind of quivers, almost like you threw a rock in a pond. And it doesn't like the way that you made it feel. So on its turn, it's gonna move its movement 5, 10, 15. And
I'm going to use my reaction to slash at it when it leaves.
Yeah,
At
absolutely.
that point, since I have a 10-foot reach.
Oh.
13 to hit.
Just hits.
For 11.
Oh, doggy. This thing is 11. We'll round up to 6. It's on death's door. It's literally climbing through death's front door. It's got 1 HP left. It's gonna take a pseudopod slimy smack at you, Ickbean, now that it's used all this movement to get there and can't turn around and get anywhere. Does a 19 hit?
Is that a disadvantage?
Oh wait, hold on. I forgot. Disadvantage? Does a 14 hit?
Thank you for remembering my spell. A 14 hits.
Alright. It's still 4 damage. It rolled 4 both times for damage. But yeah, so you take 4 just slimy slap in the face damage. And if you update it on your sheet, it should theoretically kick over.
It did.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Jarek, it is your turn.
It can't help it. They just like run a finger through the slime that got left and go.
I run right up behind it and I'm going to slash through it with my glaive.
So it has a -2 to AC now because you're technically it's flanked now. So now
we planned that.
Now its AC drops to 11 because it is considered flanked. So you would hit it. You would have hit it either way. How do you want to do this? Because you're gonna do 1 damage. So.
Seeing that it like lash out with that pod, I would run up behind it, and then like as that pod sort of starting to retract, I would be bringing my glaive down, sort of like at a 45-degree angle through what would be like what I imagine to be its shoulder, and like just trying to cut cleanly all the way through it.
Excellent. You get this thing and you slice it down, and you feel connecting all of the bones as you hit it. And as you slash down, it's almost like you force all the bones into a pile, and forcing all that amount of pressure onto this, this Oblex slime, this Oblex like spawn, it just kind of sits down. It's almost like, you know, when you put pressure on like the Play-Doh, and eventually when you press it hard enough, you'll hear the pop as it just like releases the air. It's almost like you created a flubbery fart noise in a Play-Doh cup, and it just explodes everywhere. That was the most elegant way I could describe that.
It just cackles.
You guys are both covered in the slime. It doesn't seem to do anything other than just be goopy and sticky. But laying
dancing in it.
Laying in place of what was this slime pseudopody creature, you see there are bones, there is dissolved portions of leathers and stuff, and it seems that the acidic nature of its internals only seems to be effective on things that it ingests or things that it encompasses. So when it explodes, that effect of it kind of doesn't happen anymore. I mean, it doesn't feel great, but it's not singeing and burning your skin and killing you.
It's goopy. It's
right?
cool.
But you do see that there are bones, there are dissolved leather items and whatnot, and you also see that there is a strange tubular stone item just laying on the ground. It's almost like a spell scroll case, but made of stone.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Not really interested in the stone tube at the moment. Jarek would like to inspect the bones and just see if he can identify or recognizes anything that might be in there to give him an idea of what other creatures might be in this area. Because I'm guessing I haven't seen much.
Yeah.
While I was walking through this.
Go ahead and roll for me a. We'll just do a survival check or nature, whichever you prefer.
Cool. This one's actually decent. By decent, I mean it's positive. Nat 20 plus 2.
Oh, yes.
They
perfect use for a nat 20.
Right. Some of the bones seem to be fully dissolved, but they look, for the most part, there's a humanoid skull in there, which seems to be dissolving, has been dissolved slowly, but not completely. There seem to be some bestial bones. Maybe there are some fowl, like in the bird's fowl, bones in there. There is what looks like it could maybe be something equivalent to like a pig or a hog, something like that, like a wild boar. It looks like the normal beast that you would see in your area of the Twilight Lands seems to be the type of things it's eating, like a little bit of humanoid and a little bit of beasts. So.
Okay.
Would you say that you are distracted looking at the bones?
Yes, he is. He is distracted.
I will say also that because of the way the new playtest is, my rage has not dropped.
Okay.
I am maintaining my rage, so my eyes are still this like ink jet black color.
You look like the aunties. So it notices that you are kind of poking around. Did you like kneel down or?
Yep,
or
I would have knelt down to be looking through there.
All right, so it is going to attempt to jump on your back like a backpack and wrap arms around your neck.
You now all of a sudden have this very small green or color you've never seen before. It's just obnoxiously bright creature on your back now.
Okay.
Because and she hugs your neck and she says, and she's like talking from behind your head kind of thing. It's okay. It's okay. You'll remember that you love me, and they're not mad at you. They're not mad at you. They just want to help and they need help.
1 second here.
Like, I thought I came from a crazy town.
Yeah. Just because I'm used to this sort of action as a father and everything. Holding on to my glaive with my right hand, I'm gonna reach back with my left, try to grab an ankle, and then just rip her off upside down and hold her at arm's length. So would that be
athletics versus acrobatics, where athletics of Ix choice? So.
Cool. I am choosing not to resist.
Oh, okay.
I am raging, so
you get her.
An 8.
You
oh
could
my
you
gosh!
Maybe beaten it.
You would have beaten that so easily.
Probably, but
yeah, she chose not to resist, and you just grab Ick by the ankle and pull him around front.
Okay.
And Ick squeals delightedly, and is like reaching for your face.
I'm holding you out at arms, like trying to, but I imagine that because of your size and your spryness, you're like reaching up and like using my arm.
It starts swinging just on purpose. So it is like swings near your face and then pushes off you.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to take a step and a breath for a moment here.
I can't take a step. You're holding me upside down.
I would like to try to. This might go poorly for you. Try to time her swing
Mm-hmm.
as she like swings backwards to basically like try to like flick her,
Are you
and
gonna
then like
yeet me?
no, I'm not gonna yeet you. I'm basically gonna try to spin you in the air and like
Mhm.
grab onto like the lapel of your shirt and then put you
Mm.
down
Ah, okay.
on the ground. Another athletics check.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you trying to resist this one?
20.
No.
All right. Then yeah, you succeed.
Okay. So
Its
yeah,
little
I
limbs are just going everywhere.
and then I set you down and I like you'll sort of still kneel down,
Uh-huh.
like holding you though, like at arm's length.
You can do
Okay.
the putting your hand just over my head like a basketball.
No, no, no. I am holding onto your lapel
Uh-huh.
so the way you can't get away and you can't also come towards me. Because the thing with the hand on the basketball is you could just back up and then
That's
run
true.
forward.
That's true. It is trying to
Yes,
come at you.
yes. I'm used to being on the receiving end of this from my village.
Hmm.
Uh, okay, let's. Now that you're on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
take a moment here. First off, what do you mean they just want to help and they need help?
What?
You said in my ear that they just want to help and they need my help.
Well, who's they?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering who you're talking about.
Oh. Oh. Oh, right. So sometimes I know what I'm talking about, and sometimes I know what I said, but that's not always the same thing. Sometimes I don't hear what I said, and then sometimes I actually don't know what I said. So I think that was one of those times.
Okay. You see my eyes like swirl almost like you see like the blackness sort of like swirl and dissolve into these just clear gray eyes.
And it goes, oh, that's so
Okay.
pretty. You look like the aunties. Well, you don't like. They're way taller. Some of them are shorter, but most of them are way taller. But the eye thing, that was like the aunties.
Okay. I'm I've had a long day so far. I'm gonna need. Are you always like this?
Like what?
Just this.
Outside on my own? No.
Okay. Um.
Traveling with you? No.
No, no. What do you mean? What do you mean? No,
I
no.
haven't done that before. So you
And
said, am I always like this? And no.
you're not. You're. I am so confused right now. Um. I'm.
Auntie says that that is part of the price of doing business with me.
I. I didn't say I'm not doing business with you. Why do you think I am doing business with you? You're saying things and you don't remember what you're saying them. I don't understand really what's going on
But
right
You
now.
hear, as Ix talking to you, and you're receiving what Ix saying, you also hear screaming in your mind, which is overpowering the voice that's right in front of you. Yes, this is the person you need. Work with them. They will find us. They will lead you where you need to go.
You see Jarek suddenly drop his glaive and release you and like almost like collapse with like a hand like pressed against his head like he's just suddenly received a splitting migraine. And then you see him like almost like catch his breath.
Nick runs back to stuff, the backpack, just dumps the backpack on the ground, grabs water skin and health potion, and runs full speed back. And like takes the water skin first and is like basically trying to pour it down your throat. But it's a big water skin. You're also big and at a weird angle. So
Just
it's
getting
going great.
waterboarded.
It's going great.
I'm getting waterboarded.
Here, here.
No, stop it.
Oh, okay. Do you need this?
You see, because this is currently the only way that I can sort of like envision it. I basically rage again. And like you see me almost like look up, and you just hear him say, "Are you sure?"
And you feel once again an icy chill run down from top to tail down your back.
Okay.
Really look like the aunties.
Fine. I do not know who they are.
They're my
glad.
aunties.
I'm happy. I'm good. Congratulations. Do you have an? I'm guessing you're called. You said "ick" as you yelled at the, and I stand up and grab my glaive and poke at the cloak.
I am Ick Bean. Wait, I can show you something. It'll answer all the questions. And she runs back over to her backpack and finds that card that she just made and runs back over and lifts it up to you. Again, both hands, little kid. Look what I made at school.
Who is that?
Look at it!
Yes.
Don't you have mirrors?
A what?
Mirrors. That you look at your face in.
I don't know what that is, no.
Oh. Well, they're shiny things. You can look in them to see if you're pretty, or to see if you're not pretty, or to see if you have smudges on your nose, or to see if your hair is straight, or if you like the color of the shirt that you have on, or if there's anything standing behind you, because sometimes there are, even if they might not really be standing behind you, except in the mirror.
Okay. That's... Okay,
It's
so...
you!
You see Jarek, and he is looking at himself for the first time.
And it taps the glaive. It says, see? Even if you don't know what you look like, look, see?
It is a very distinctive looking glaive also.
See?
It looks more like a scimitar on the end of a pole, rather than like a traditional glaive.
Nice. Well, that is what is on the card. See?
Where did you get this?
I made it.
When?
Like a little while ago. Like when I woke up. I needed to make it, so I made it when I woke up.
You see on the bottom of it, it says shield. And that resonates with you, Jarek, as it's kind of been the role that you've maintained as you found your place growing up. That's kind of what you just became. You didn't necessarily see yourself as the shield, you just kind of were the shield. And now there's a pictogram of you depicting what you've been doing, and it's interesting.
Well, you spelled my name wrong. Name's Jarek, and I would extend a hand.
And it extends a hand, and it is still covered with gloop.
I shake it anyway.
And
not
little, those long, kind of creepy fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Jarek. She takes the card and grabs a pencil out of her pocket and writes that real small underneath where it says shield. And then just nods decisively and puts it into her pocket.
Alright, well, so what are you doing out here?
Well, I left home and then I walked, and I stopped one time to eat some bugs that I found, and then I walked some more, and it was getting kind of warm, and then I found a stream with some water, like that, and then it started raining, and it was very, very pretty. It was like all, like colors in the water. Have you seen it do that before? It doesn't really rain that much at home. And so I was dancing, and I was singing a little song because I looked very pretty in the rain. And then the aunties told me that I had to stop playing the rain. And so I made this camp, and I cooked my dinner, and I slept, and I got up, and I made the card, and then I saw you, and then I
I
ran at
think
you to say hi,
I
and
think I know what happened after this point.
oh,
Oh, okay. Well,
where are
I
we going?
I don't know. I was hoping that you might know because I've been looking for someone to help me. Um, I have you said that your aunties talk to you. I also have people talking to me, and I would like them to stop talking to me so much, or at least, and I sort of like look up, like I'm looking up into my head if that's something that I could do. At least stop talking so loudly, and at the same time. Um, and they said that you could help.
Me? Well,
Yes,
I don't. Oh, hmm. Well, I don't. Do you want them to go away?
I would like them to at least stop yelling
Oh,
and to talk clearly.
are you kneeling down still at this point?
No, I'm standing up at this point.
Okay. Well, I can try something to help.
Okay.
And it stands in front of you and puts arms up. Uppies, wiggling the fingers. Uppies, uppies.
I like turn my glaive upside down and like stick it into the ground so the way it's like still standing upright, and then I pick you up and hold you like arms lengths outward like you're a baby.
No, I have to be able to touch your hand. And Ick is
I
still wiggling fingers out towards you.
I
Gotta touch you.
slowly like pull you in, but like also like wince.
Yes. So Ick just takes a hold of one of your ears and sort of
Mm,
like pulls it out just a little bit, not hard, but like turning it so the
mm.
ears like and then leans forward and goes, "Hey, hey, you need to not be so loud." And then lets go of your ear and kind of, relaxes back a little bit and is looking at your face like, uh, uh.
Hey,
I
roll me a
I
Constitution saving throw.
who?
Ick.
Oh,
No. How to D&D. Uh-oh. I made them mad.
As you say what you say and pull back and ask how Jarek feels, you just feel this slam, almost like someone just rocked your brain inside your skull, Ick. You don't take any damage, but you see a flash of a man that you've never seen, with this pale skin, pulsating veins around the neck, almost like they have poison running through their veins, almost venom running up into their face a little bit. And you see they look like they're in pain, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Maybe they're in trouble of sorts, but you just see this quick flash of this man, or at least what you believe to be a man, and you get this splitting headache for a couple of seconds, and then it just goes away.
So it has like one eye screwed shut, like ice cream headache. Kind of, and she just yells, "Hey, old guy." Aunties always say that just because you're hurting doesn't mean that you get to hurt somebody else. I'm just trying to help.
Do I see this vision at all, or just her?
Just ick.
Okay.
You can clearly see the physical reaction to whatever's happening, but you don't see what ick sees.
I'm guessing that the voices didn't like that.
That one at least is kind of mean. We're gonna have to do something about that.
I put Ick down, not super gently, but like, I mean, I don't like slam her, but like, I'm not exactly gentle in
Is
putting
it
her
more of
down.
a like get close to the ground and then just drop?
Yeah, sort of
Let go?
you
Okay.
like you. This is gonna sound bad. Like you sort of like would like a cat.
Yeah. No,
Like you
that's
get down,
absolutely fine.
you get down low enough, and oh, they'll be fine from this distance. So you just sort of like let go.
Yeah, so it does the twist. Okay, well, that didn't work. Hey, aunties! She's just screaming again.
Nothing.
I need you to tell me where we need to go. He's here, and I need to know where we need to go.
You get nothing from your aunties.
Jarek just sort of like looks around.
And then I scream again. Okay, please tell me where we need to go. Sorry, I forgot to say it.
As she's yelling, I head over to the fire to like warm myself up a little bit and pull out some rations and eat.
You get a little message back. It's almost a whisper, like they're trying to hide that they're giving you some advice, Ick. And all it says is, why don't you use the environment that's around you and figure out where you should go? That's it. That's all you get.
Round, it looks round. And there's that little pile of bones.
Mm-hmm.
So, she sits down in the goop and just starts again concentrating with the tongue out of the side of the mouth of getting the bones out of the goop and kind of shaking them off very vigorously. So it gets, of course, everywhere. It comes off the bone, but it gets on clothes and everything. She has like a little pile of bones. And then she comes trotting over to the fire and just plops herself down, Jarek, and says, "Okay, we're gonna figure it out. Are you ready?"
Um, uh, for what?
Well, first, I need you to break a bunch of these into smaller pieces. So they're like little rocks, kind of. And she just holds out this double handful of goopy bones.
Do you have the bones and the stone tubular thing and the other pieces of dissolving materials that were there?
I think I might have picked up the stone,
Okay.
just in a that's kind of shiny way.
Okay.
But just the bones and the thing.
Okay. So you're breaking the
Um,
bones and just the bones?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you can break the dissolving bones. It's easy. They're dissolving bones.
So give them
Right.
back. And she cuts them all in her hands and she says, "Okay, put your hands underneath and on top of mine."
Okay. I reach out and like encircle her hands.
You gotta think really hard about what you want to know. Okay, so tell me when you're thinking real hard. Don't tell me exactly what you're saying. Just think real hard. I mean, I kind of know that what you're going to be thinking is what are we doing? But anyway, don't tell me.
I close my eyes and I focus on a particular face and a particular weapon.
Okay. And so
You know what I'm talking about, DM.
Mm-hmm.
it
Okay.
sort of shakes the, combined hands and then goes, "Ah, and pulls her hands apart really fast so that yours go too, and the bones all just fall down onto the ground in front of her.
As they fall down, they kind of all surround the stone tubular device that's there, and they kind of all, like, if things could point, they, like, in a weird way point to that, but then also point off in a direction out towards the east.
There you go. And she dusts her hands.
It's a pile of bones. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, look what they're doing.
I look down and it looks like a scattering of bones.
To you, yeah.
They're saying this thing and then there. Oh, what's this thing? And I'm gonna pick it up and look at it.
It looks like a storage device, like it could be opened, but it looks like the edges have been, like where it would twist open, it looks like that has kind of been dissolved together and is one big thing of rock that could be broken, but, you know, it's dissolved stone into more stone.
Is there, like, maybe there's a rock to sit on? I see that there's one right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff to sit on. Yeah.
Ick is not known for deliberateness, let's say. So she takes it and just turns around and wangs it against the rock that she's sitting by.
Thwack, thwack, thwack. This goes on for multiple thwacks, and it doesn't
With my
seem...
-1 strength, yes.
You seem to be getting nowhere. Actually, you know what? Give me a strength roll at disadvantage. Because
like it needs to be disadvantaged.
yeah, you could roll double crits.
Weird things could
Who
happen.
knows?
Does know.
You just thwacking and thwacking and thwacking, and it's just rock on rock. Nothing's happening with this rock. Jarek, you're watching this, and you're very much like,
I just, like, reach out, grab it, and then I basically, like, hold it on both ends of the tube, and I just try to, like, twist it to see if I can, like, untwist it.
roll me a strength check.
Strength check?
Or athletics, whichever you prefer.
Nat 20 plus 5?
Yeah, you just... it just snaps right open. And inside, you found a rolled up piece of very thick parchment, almost like it was written on the hide of something. And it's written in common, but it is this... can you see that? Nope, hold on. That's why. Save. There you go. Now you should be able to see it. It's in your journal now.
Okay.
A mysterious scroll. And as you kind of unroll it and look at it, it says, Sherith, I hope this letter finds you in good health and high spirits. You assume the humanoid person was this person named Sherith. They are no longer in good health. They might be high spirits, but they're not in good health. I come bearing news of an opportunity that I believe aligns perfectly with your adventurous nature. Rumors had spread like wildfire through the realm about a quaint and mysterious town named Eldoria. Nestled at the crossroads of enchanted forests and serene meadows in the middle of the Zeflax Empire, this town has recently been engulfed by an aura of intrigue. Travelers speak of unusual happenings, glimmers of magical lights dancing in the night sky, whispers of forgotten spells carried by the wind, and the undeniable sense that the very fabric of reality is shifting.
For Ick, that's a Tuesday.
Legends, and this is where it really piques your interest, Jarek. Legends tell of a powerful artifact said to be the key to unveiling Eldoria's secrets, a relic of immense power, coveted by beings both mortal and otherworldly. The path to this artifact, however, is not without challenges. Ancient guardians, cunning puzzles, and uncharted landscapes stand in the way, testing the mettle of those who dare to seek it. I know well your thirst for adventure, your unquenchable curiosity, and your valor on the field of battle. This, my friend, is an opportunity to leave your mark on history, to unravel the enigma of Eldoria, and to claim the fabled artifact that lies within its grasp. Assemble your companions, ready your weapons, and set forth on a journey that promises riches beyond measure, knowledge beyond imagination, and the chance to shape the destiny of a town and its people, and that's where it gets you, Ick. Meet me at the crossroads, marked on the map enclosed with this letter. Together we shall make our way to Eldoria, and embark on an adventure that will surely be recounted for generations to come. May your travels be safe and your courage unwavering, yours in anticipation, Jonathan.
It's got fingers up by her face, and the eyes are just huge. And it says, Destiny. Destiny. It's destiny.
You reread this letter a couple of times, Jarek, and every time you read past legendary artifact, you get a little chill. Not as strong as before when you found Ick, but very slight enough that you notice it, but not enough that it's giving you a physical reaction for Ick to notice.
Well, Ick's busy dancing around singing Destiny, so...
Do you know where this place is, Ick?
What?
I'm guessing there's the map in there also.
Mm-hmm. You do see that the mark of the crossroads that it mentioned seems to be smudged, that you can't really tell if it means like within a few miles of the place or what. But I'll kick you guys over to this world map real quick, and you guys are over here in the Twilight Lands, and the Zephlax Empire is in the region to the east of you. So you guys both know enough about world geography to know where stuff is. You've not necessarily been to these places, but you know of the Twilight Lands, where you guys are from, the Zephlax Empire, which is more of, thinking about it from like the Plains perspective, the Twilight Lands is more of like the Shadowfell, the Principality of Fae is more like the Fae realm, the Zephlax Empire is more of like the Prime Material Plane, which is in the middle, and then Vasquet, you don't really know what that is. No one that you've ever met really knows what that is. The Antes don't even really know what that is. They kind of are tenuous about Vasquet. Nana, your big sis, and mom don't even know what that is. They don't know what's there.
That's weird.
It's intriguing, but
that's weird and interesting, and we should go there.
But this letter says that there's a legendary artifact in Eldoria in the Zephlax Empire. So, and based on where you guys are in the Twilight Lands and where Eldoria is in the Zephlax Empire, you could guesstimate, unless you get distracted, it's about 2 to 3 weeks on foot to get there.
Unless we get distracted.
I mean, it could be longer, but with decent weather, it's 2 to 3 weeks. So
you just hear, like looking at the map and knowing where it is, you just hear Jarek go, "It's gonna take longer."
For the first time in a while, though, the voices are a little quieter.
Ick, you said that the bones were pointing in another direction, too.
They were pointing eastward.
They're pointing, that way.
The general area, so they could be a little bit more northern or southern, but they're pointing the general area of the Twilight Lands. Yeah.
So it takes the bones, and she lays them out in, a straight line pointing that way, and then, bones at the top, so it's basically an arrow pointing. She goes, "See? They're pointing that way."
Why?
The bones know everything.
What's funny is, Jarek, you imagine that if you guys had more resources and the ability to relax a little bit more back in the Night Haunt Village, that Arendor might be a little bit like Ick. But because of how hard life is there, you don't really have that freedom to do that. But you would imagine if you had more of that capability,
Yeah.
Arendor might be a little bit like Ick.
I thought I left you behind. All right. Well, how soon can you be packed up and ready to go?
And it plops themselves down and just starts stuffing stuff into the backpack with absolutely no skill whatsoever. Just cramming everything in there.
Oh, please, 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 please
What?
stop. Please stop.
What?
Please.
What?
Okay.
What? What?
You've never done this before, have you?
No, I told you. So, I've never been outside of the conclave except that I have. I mean, because if you
Jarek
go
is
into
listening, but
where
he's immediately tearing down the camp in
yes, yes.
like a clean, orderly way. Like, uh-huh.
Because if you go in the Temple of the Death of Stars, you go everywhere, but then you're also nowhere. Um, and there isn't a map
Mm-hmm.
for that.
Yeah.
There's not a map. And so,
Mhm.
no, I don't ever have to go with the pack
Okay.
because even when I'm gone for, oh, never mind.
Yep. Okay. Here you go. All right.
You get the whole camp torn down in about 10 minutes.
and Ick was talking that whole time.
Yes.
Yep. You notice that Jarek packs it up, but he like attaches it to his pack and hands you like a small pack of like your provisions and
Mhm.
your like essentials and
Mhm.
like things that aren't traditional camping stuff. He hands you, but the normal
Got it.
stuff he takes on his.
Okay, so my backpack is much lighter now.
Extremely so.
Mhm.
And with that, are you guys heading to Eldoria?
Absolutely. Wherever
Yep.
that is, we're going there.
Okay. You guys follow this, start to begin this journey, however long it may take, 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks, depending on your level of distraction and focus, to get from where you are to where this map is calling you to. If there's anything that you wish to do in that time frame, feel free to send it to me, and we can write a summation up, and we'll kind of go over that stuff a little bit when we start our main campaign.
Would there be any other towns or villages that we would pass through?
There may be a couple, few and far between, because you guys are pretty much staying on like what feels like the main road, but we'll say that you'll pass through, and they're just going to be like smaller places that are, a lot of the places that you know of that are communities kind of go off the beaten path a little bit, so that when they are acting as survivalists, they can claim their own goods and they don't have to run the risk of being attacked or losing out on stuff. So they're typically off the beaten path. But we'll say that you run through one town about the size of yours and 3 small little communities of maybe like 20, 30 people. So,
Okay.
and you see them off in the distance, and you kind of, you know what people around like in the Twilight Lands that you've met, and kind of from your experience of living, how people tend to keep to themselves when they're in, especially the smaller communities. They tend to, they're doing what they can to survive, and it's not always, they're not always the most welcoming, but they're not actively going to try and fight you unless you know you instigate something.
Yeah. When we pass through the major town, I would look to see if there was any provisions and or possibly like some recipes for stuff that I might not know if the the fauna or flora is different in this area since it is a little bit closer to the edge.
Yeah.
Of the
We'll
Twilight.
say that you roll me a d4.
A D what?
4.
4.
You
2.
can find 2 recipes and enough stuff to make those twice. So we'll figure out what the recipes are for those. So of your initial recipes that you have, you can make those a total of 4 times, and you can make these 2 recipes 2 times. So just write that down.
Okay.
And we'll figure out what they are. And you
So
guys...
I want to do a little quick pitch.
Yeah.
Just because, background features don't get used a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a far traveler, and I have the feature All Eyes on You. Because out here, again, Jarek won't know this, but Ick is not a regular goblin. And so, people are curious about me and intrigued and whatever. So can I? This says you can parlay this attention to access to people and places you might not otherwise have for you and your traveling companions. Um, can I just be so cute and weird that whoever's giving him these recipes might give one more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Actually, roll me just a straight D20 luck check, and if it's over 12, he'll get 2 more.
Oh, that didn't. I just rolled the dice.
Oh.
A 3.
It's
Yeah.
a 3.
Well, you still get 1. So, there you go. But yeah, so you will have 3, and you will have. We'll say you get 3, and you have enough stuff to make them all 3 times instead of twice.
Okay.
So.
Now, just also, for the 3 times, that's 3, enough for 3 people, correct?
Yeah, it's enough for whatever 1 meal would feed. You have 3 uses basically.
Okay.
So if it's, I think the chef feat allows you 1 plus your proficiency, or whatever it is. So it's whatever that total is, 3 uses of it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's 4 plus proficiency. So
okay, so then 6.
So I have enough to make.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Mhm.
a meal is enough to feed that many people. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So if you
Yeah,
make that many, so it's basically that many servings, we'll say, because that's
Okay.
easier than 6 people. So if you made 6 servings of something, and you're with 4 people, you could all eat, and then there's 2 more servings that you could store. So.
Okay. Cool.
And they won't go bad if they're in your bag. You just have to track them, because I'm not going to remember all of the uses of all of the stuff that you have food-wise in your bag.
What's wrong with you? What
promise
kind of DM
you
are you?
that much. A very forgetful one. How about that? I'll be honest.
So when Ick manages to charm the baker or whatever,
Mhm.
because just going on and on about how good it is and how Ick wants to eat it on the road some more,
Mhm.
and so the person actually gives the recipe over. Ick just looks at you and bellows, "People like me!"
But with that, you guys begin your travels of however long the duration takes with all your distractions, and you level up to level 2. So when we start the campaign proper, you guys will be level 2, and if there's any more history that you guys want, or anything major or minor that you want to either just to hand wave and let me know that stuff, or if there's stuff that you want to role play out, we can definitely spend some time doing that at the beginning as you guys kind of approach Eldoria, and then we will get to where we need to be. But with that, we will pick up at some time. Hopefully you enjoyed this little mini intro level 1 to 2 session with just the 2 of you. It was something new for me. I think it was enjoyable. So, alright, well, I'm going to end the recording here, and then we will pick up whenever our first regularly scheduled debut is set to be.
Excellent.
Alright, bye!
Bye.
YouTube.